everyone. Welcome to the Modern Publishing Landscape. My name's Emily Perkins. I'll explain a little bit about my background. I've been at FriesenPress for about 10 years now. I have a fairly extensive background in publishing and printing, as previously I was a typesetter and a proofreader in financial printing. And then I went on to do a lot of graphic design work. So I've been involved in printing as well as publishing for the internet, things that were going on the stock market, things like that, areas where there was no room for error. So over the years, I have learned a lot and I want to share information with you about the publishing world so that I can help you find the right route for you. Today, while we do this webinar, my colleague Brian is going to be helping me. He'll be monitoring the Q&A. So after our session, we'll go through some question and answers, and you can just pop your questions into the chat area, the Q&A chat area, as we go, and we'll get to them at the end of the session. I really hope you enjoy this, and I hope we can help you learn about the publishing world. On the agenda today, I'm going to first explain traditional publishing, the world of traditional publishing. Then I'm going to talk about do-it-yourself self-publishing, and then self-publishing with a publishing services company like FriesenPress, how to prepare your manuscript for publication. And then we're going to have a live question and answer session, as I said. And you can also enter to win a manuscript evaluation. We're going to talk about that, but that is a piece that is crucial to publishing a great book. It's something we do for every book we work on here at FriesenPress. Traditional publishing, I'm going to first talk about how it works, then the requirements that come along with traditional publishing, and then the pros and cons, the benefits and the limitations that it also comes with it. Traditional publishing, what you have to know is that publishers' primary goal nowadays is how profitable the book is going to be that they are investing in. So it's really about their return on investment. You first, when you're trying to find a traditional publisher, you have to have your manuscript completed, well prepared. You have to have a literary agent to represent you. This is specifically important if you are reaching out to any large publisher, because they don't want you to submit your manuscript without an agent. If you do, they throw it in what they call the slush pile, which literally means it just does not get read or looked at. So what you need to do is put together a book proposal and a query letter. Often you'll need both of these even to find a literary agent. Consider a literary agent to be sort of like a talent scout for publishers. They have to be a good fit with you and your manuscript. So you want to make sure you present your manuscript well as yourself. So your book proposal really needs to have your intent and details about yourself as well as your manuscript and your marketing plan. And a query letter is also helpful. Literary agents can be difficult to find, but you absolutely have to have one when you're looking for any large publication. They are necessary. As I noted, social media presence, publishers and agents are looking to see who you are and what are the chances of them getting a return on the investment they make into publishing your book. So it's important that they see you. Social media is a great way to show your presence, who you are, demonstrate how marketable you are, and have a plan of who your market is and how you intend on reaching them with your book. It's really crucial to traditional publishing because it is incredibly difficult to attain an offer, and it's difficult to find an agent. It's not impossible. You can do it, but it is very difficult. So it's best to be well prepared with your manuscript and yourself. There are benefits and limitations. I would say the benefit, the biggest benefit to traditional publishing is you don't have to invest in getting your book published because that's the investment. The investment into publishing is made by the publisher that signs you. That's normally the point when a deal is being signed, that your agent takes their cut of the deal. If you're looking for an agent and they ask you for money up front for seeking a deal for you with a publisher, they're not a real uh, they're not a real literary agent. A literary agent normally is the one that negotiates the publication deal. What they're doing is selling off the rights of your writing to that publisher. So for an author, you have a lot less creative control, if you have any at all, because when a publisher owns it, they decide normally how your book's published, how it's edited, how it is going to be designed. If it's a children's book, who the illustrator is going to be. What they require from an author is how the author intends on marketing that book. So again, it's key to have all of these pieces put together. Know who your audience is for this book, know who they are, have a well edited book so that a traditional publisher and an agent may look to see that they may have a lesser investment in success with you, with signing you. There's not only less creative control, but there's also a longer publication process, primarily with traditional publishing. It obviously differs depending on the book and the work that goes into it, but the average timeline, I would say, for traditional publishing from many authors that I've spoken with is generally about 3 years' time. Currently, over the past few years, it's averaging about 4 to 6 months' time for them to negotiate, decide if they're interested. They want to review your manuscript with the agent and decide, and that averages about 4 to 6 months. And publication runs on average about 3 years. But again, it really depends on the publisher and on the deal that you're making. With a smaller publishing house, they may take on 1 or 2 books a year that they publish. So if they're really focused on your book, it could go quicker, but it's not something that is generally as fast as other publication options. So it's definitely a longer process, less creative control, and the author does normally lose ownership of their writing because that publisher, if they are going to invest in publishing it, they want to own that book. And that's what the negotiation deal is. Now I'm going to have a talk about do it yourself publishing. Do it yourself publishing, we're going to talk about how it works, the requirements, and again, the benefits and limitations or the pros and cons that come with it. In do it yourself self publishing, it really is exactly what it says. Do it yourself. So you really need to be ready to produce your own book. In order to do so, you can't just write your book. You have to then learn all the skills that are going to be needed or hire freelancers to help you. So often, when somebody is producing a do it yourself publication, they will have their manuscript produced. They then seek out a professional editor, a professional book designer, potentially a professional illustrator if they're doing a children's book. You really have to develop and execute your own marketing plan because it's a big part of being successful when publishing. So it is a lot of legwork on that falls onto the shoulders of the author. For some people, it really is a good fit. A lot of others, it can be very taxing time-wise and on their skill set. When you're looking for the professional freelancers that you want to hire, you really have to vet them well. You have to make sure that you can be sure that they are at the level that you require for the work you want them to do for you. Often it is difficult to find more than one editor to do a secondary edit on your book, for example. And it can be difficult to find a graphic designer that can produce something that is going to be at a quality level when you publish it. There's a lot of insight that professional book designers can do versus a graphic designer. Honestly, I've been a graphic designer, so I can speak to that. There's a lot that a professional book designer can bring to the table that a graphic designer may not be able to execute quite as well. There's a lot of different things such as print saturation details, how to perfect what can be done when the book goes to publication and then printing. So if you want to take the do-it-yourself publishing route, you really have to be ready. You really have to map out a plan. As you have to manage every aspect of the publishing process, it's best to sort of start by mapping out the step-by-step details. Once you finish writing your book, you may have already vetted your editor or been working with them, possibly for developmental editing throughout the process. Some editors or book coaches will work with an author through each step of writing their book and editing it, but most editors will want to work on editing a book once it's completed. It's generally best to have them first read and evaluate the book, just like I was saying we do for every book we work on here. And then they identify with the needs of your writing and work through the editing process with you. You have to learn the skills and the details that are going to be needed to get your book through to that final stage. So have to not only have the time, but you really have to learn the skill set that's going to be needed by the people that you're working with. So again, you can ensure that they're going to produce what you are looking for. So it's not just editors, it can be illustrators as well as book designers or graphic designers. It's more than just preparing a book for printing. It's a lot more than that if you want to be successful. Do it yourself self-publishing again really is tied to the name. It's all on the author, and it takes a lot of time. It can be quick if authors have the ability to put the time in there, but they also have to manage the time frame of the freelancers they're working with. So you really have to map it out, ensure you have quality contracts with the people that you're working with, and they're going to complete the work in the time that you require to get your book published. The benefits and the limitations with do it yourself self publishing, you do have full creative control. And of course, you are still retaining full ownership of it. So that is a definite benefit for a lot of authors because they control how their book is going to be edited, designed, and published. They can see their vision through. The downside is that you do have to do it all yourself. And again, it can be very time consuming and very taxing on all the skill sets you need to have and need to ensure the people that you're working with have that. I've talked to many authors over the years. Some have had really big success with do it yourself self publishing, and others have had pitfalls through working with illustrators that they thought were going to achieve what they wanted, or create graphic designers that then produced the book and then struggled with being able to publish it because it had issues within the design they had done. So definitely do your research before trying to execute your plan. It's extremely important. I'm also going to, under the umbrella of self-publishing, there's also publishing services companies like ourselves at FriesenPress. So I'm going to talk about how that works, the requirements, and again, the pros and cons, or the benefits and limitations. It's similar to do it yourself self-publishing in some ways, but a more supportive approach. I think when you're publishing a book, it's best to work out and compare traditional publishing and then the different options under the self-publishing umbrella. If you want to work with a supportive publishing services company, or if you do want to do it all yourself, it's best to learn about these options and map out a plan for yourself. I think it's different for every person. And I want to just share this information with you to help you find the right path for you. What's going to fit your goals? What is going to achieve your vision? When you work with a publishing services company, you really need to work out who is the best fit for you. There's a lot of different publishing services companies that are available, and I find they all work quite differently. So it really is very personal publishing a book and having a support team working with you. Publishing services companies like FriesenPress, I would say the best way to look at it is we do the heavy lifting for you to get your manuscript out and available to the world in book form. You still maintain ownership of your book. You still have creative control, but when you're working with us, we're doing the heavy lifting for you. So again, it's very good to find the most suitable service provider for your needs. You want to work with your publishing team to produce your book. So you want to have a clear vision about what you want out of this. It's good to still map out who your target market is for the book. So it's always good to do that book proposal. We offer a book proposal template at FriesenPress, and it's really helpful for a lot of authors when they're at that early research stage. You also want to develop and execute a marketing plan. No matter what route you take in publishing nowadays, having a marketing plan is crucial. Most traditional publishers will require this before they even get into negotiating with you. Often a literary agent will want that. When you do self-publishing, do it yourself, you'll also need to execute that because it's very difficult to find marketing people. Some authors go to finding a publicist if they can't manage that themselves, but it's very crucial to work out who your market is and how you intend on reaching them. It's the best way to be successful in publishing of any kind. So, the requirements when you are going to be working with a publishing services provider is to ensure that you've mapped out what type of publishing services you're going to need, and then that you've saved and have the funds or the budget to achieve that. So it is always good to speak with someone like myself at the early stages when you're researching so that we can help you work out and identify with what services you're going to need and work out what the budget is going to be so that if you do need to save, you've worked out a plan, you know what you're going to need, and you can get your ducks in a row, so to speak. It's always good to collaborate with a publishing team or a consultant like myself to help guide your vision and execute what you're looking for from the plan of services right the way through. So that if a lot of authors I speak with are doing this while they're still writing their book, and that's a great way to do it because you can map out your plan so that when you've finished your writing, you're ready to go. You know what you need, you can execute that plan. I would say at FriesenPress, we're very supportive. We also offer a lot of support to our authors while they're writing. So don't be shy to reach out to us. I've worked with a number of authors for years, actually, while they've been writing. Some have needed more support than others. It's something we're really happy to provide. We definitely help authors while they're writing with support as well as details on publishing. When you publish a book in self-publishing and even traditional nowadays, when you're thinking of publishing a book and you have goals to be successful, you do need to treat your book like a business. It's like having a small business. You need to work on marketing on a regular basis. While you're writing, you need to be dedicated to writing. So it's best to map out a plan for every step from writing to publishing. It's all important. It's all easier when you have an understanding of what you have to achieve and just have go step by step. I say that to authors all the time, baby steps. So again, we're here to support you on this. I encourage you to speak with your publishing consultant if you have one at FriesenPress. And if you don't, reach out to us. We're happy to help you. I'm now going to talk about the benefits and limitations with self-publishing with a services company. It is important to know that you have creative control, you have ownership of your book. So that is definitely a benefit. For our authors, essentially, again, we're doing the heavy lifting to see their vision through. We know that a lot of authors that come to us, their new piece of writing, their manuscript is like their baby, and we appreciate that. We want to help see your vision through for you and carry that baby for you. We know that it takes a lot of trust, um, having trust in us. We care a lot about what we do. We're an employee owned company and we work in Canada with authors around the world to see their vision through. We are definitely involved closely with our clients because we want them to be successful. We want them to achieve their goals from publishing and being successful. We want to help with that. Different authors publish for different reasons, but I would say the biggest benefit to self publishing is having full creative control and ownership. The benefit as well with working with Friesen Press is you're still self publishing, but you have an expert team to rely on. You don't have to vet your editor. You don't have to vet your illustrator. You don't have to vet your book designer. You also have access to professional book promotional people. There's everybody at Friesen Press has been vetted. We know that they're professionals. We know that we're going to produce and offer the quality service that you're looking for. So that's important. It takes a lot of weight off of authors. They can see their vision through, and we can help them execute this. We have the knowledge. We will make recommendations throughout the process to our authors, but they really have final say on what we're doing as they have control. I would say the con to publishing with a publishing services company like ourselves is that you have to pay to to buy into publishing services to get that book put together. It's very different when you're sitting there trying to write all by yourself. You're in your own space. It's very different to when you're holding your beautiful book in hand. There's a lot of power in that. Um, and so we do a lot of quality work, but there is a fee that comes with that. And I think that's important. That's really important when you're looking into different companies as well, because you want to make sure that who you're working with offers the services at the quality level you're looking for. FriesenPress again starts the process with an editor reading and evaluating every book we work on. It doesn't mean that editing is done on every book that we work on, but we always have a professional read and assess the manuscript in order to gauge if that manuscript is ready for publication or if an author needs some feedback. Maybe they need to consider a few things before it's prepared for publishing. We want to help, and that's our process in that sense mimics traditional publishing, as they would always ensure that a manuscript is initially read and assessed before they jump into editing or publishing it. So within that evaluation, there's a lot of details that come back, and it is a crucial step. So again, we're going to do at the question and answer period, we are going to also allow you to pop in question and answers there, questions into the Q&A, and we're going to have a free giveaway for this evaluation. So I encourage you. It's a crucial step in finding out what you have and finding out a bit more about your target market, because you do get to find out what we call BISEC codes, which are categories for books when they're filed in distribution. So there's a lot to learn with us. There's a lot to consider, and I hope that this session helps you learn about the different options so that you can find the best route for you. Now, how to prepare for publication. There's a lot that goes into this. It's a lot more than just dedicating time and completing your manuscript. Generally, when you first work on a manuscript, when you're first starting to write, you want to often start with a proposal because it might help give you some guidance initially into who you're writing for and what type of information you want to put in your manuscript. You then want to set up a writing session, work on it regularly. And once you've dedicated time and you get to completing a rough draft, for most authors, the next best step is to take a step away from their manuscript, leave it alone for a couple weeks, go back, reread it, and self edit it. It's best to stay in the writing stage and edit later. Once you've got your manuscript into a position where you feel comfortable with sharing it with others, you've gone through maybe rough draft 2, potentially rough draft 3, then you want to consider having readers. Friends and family, for a lot of people, they will get feedback from. Some will hire beta readers. Some authors come to us and just start with the evaluation service because maybe they want to just have unbiased feedback from a professional editor before they jump into publishing or before they decide if they want to continue with publishing. A lot of authors don't know what they have. Again, they've been stuck in a very isolated writing by themselves perspective a lot for quite a while. So it's important to get an idea of what you have. If you choose to have friends and family or colleagues read and assess your manuscript, it's important, but you really want to ask for specific details. You don't want to just know if you have spelling or grammatical errors in there. You want to know, was the content there? Were you interested? Did it make you want to keep reading it? Turn that page. You want to find out if they were engaged, if it evoked emotion, different things like that. It's different depending on the manuscript you have, but it's definitely something to consider. When you take the approach of hiring beta readers, you really want to make sure you have a contract that is well written up, because normally beta readers, you don't want them to share information that they've read in your manuscript before it's published. You want to keep it safe. So normally you'd have to have a good contract set up with your beta readers. Beta readers tend to be more specific on their details than friends and family would be. It's understandable. They generally aren't as close to you and will give a more of an outsider perspective, which is important. Either one, any readers that you get, consider that they could potentially be people that buy and read your book. So it's important to have their feedback. I find a lot of the authors that I speak with will receive feedback that brings them back to revising that manuscript again. Some feedback will be crucial and really helpful, things an author did not see when they were writing, other things they may have been expecting. If you're going to self-publish, remember that some of the things that they may come back with, you may understand but disagree with. And that's where it's whether or not you want to keep that creative control or not as to what way you want to publish. It's important because if you do want to maintain the ownership, you can disregard what their recommendations are if you like. But you do want to keep it in mind because it's important. Again, they could be your reader. But the more sets of eyes you can get on a manuscript, the better. Different perspectives are really, really important. So that is another reason, again, for our evaluation. It's just a crucial step in publication. If an author goes towards trying to find a traditional publication, that's normally the very first step they would take. The traditional publisher and the literary agent would have read and evaluated the manuscript. And then that's how they're making their decision if they want to get into negotiating a deal or not. With self publishing, it's really the feedback to find out what you have, what the requirements may be for editing, what you need to consider. But again, with self publishing, you maintain creative control. So that does not mean you have to go through with the recommendations. Our editors, when we're working with a client and we get the manuscript through, some authors will start with just that stage, others will be taking on a full publication plan with us. We want to know about the manuscript that we're getting into so that we can provide it to an editor that has a good background and interest in that book genre. So, although all of our editors are qualified, you want to have a good fit. We know that they have different interests, and it's important that they're a good match with the content of your manuscript. For example, if you're writing a book of poetry, we're not going to give your manuscript over to an editor that really loves working in science fiction, for example. So, it's again important as well if you are doing the do it yourself route that you find an editor that also has a good background with the genre you're writing. Here is a QR code up on the screen now. You can all go there, use that. There's also the URL for that QR code is right below there, publish.friesenpress.com/modern publishing. Either one of those will take you to being able to enter to win a free evaluation. It is such a crucial step, so eye-opening for many authors, having unbiased feedback from a professional that doesn't know you. They haven't had a chat with you, possibly like myself with the authors I work with. They're purely giving you their unbiased feedback and criticism on what they've read. It's good to be open to learning and hearing their feedback because it's the best way to improve your writing and produce a quality book. I think no matter the goals of any author, producing a quality book is really key. It's really key. And it's not just from the writing, but it's how a book is produced overall. Does your cover match? Does it jump off the shelves? Does it jump out at that book listing? There's a lot of things that are important that go into publishing a great book, from the writing to the illustrations to the book cover, even to the writing on the back cover of a book. That's a key piece that a lot of people forget that is really, really important. When a book is published nowadays, if people are looking at the listing online, they'll see the image on the front cover of the book and they'll see the writing on the back cover, not just about the author, but the piece about the book itself. So it's important to have it written to pull that person into buying your book. It's an important aspect. And it's also good to consider having somebody that understands marketing involved in that writing on the back cover at times, because it's not just about the synopsis of the book, it's about making that synopsis marketable. So it's all key. I would say no matter, again, what route you take, you want to have a vision overall for your book. When you're taking that self-publishing route, map out a plan for writing and then what publication you're going to need, what type of services you're going to need to achieve that. Consider your target market along the way. And when you're self-publishing, envision your cover as well, because it's important to see your overall vision from start to finish. I honestly encourage you to pop some questions into that Q&A and just speak with someone like myself. We're really happy to help you and teach you. There is my contact details for you now. and we'll get into some questions and answers. I'm sure there's a lot, but I hope this has been supportive.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks so much, Emily. There was a bit of I think I could hear people absorbing all the content, and then there was an explosion of questions kind of towards the end there. So we got a lot of good ones for you. Before we get into it, I
Okay.
did want to just quickly mention we have a lot of questions, and if we don't get to yours, we will be following up after the webinar. We save them all, and Sheila, Shelley, I know you've asked a few, so just wanted to get out ahead of that in case we don't get to your question. We'll be following up with you after. So let's get into it here, and actually, Shelley, we'll start with you, and you asked what I think is a really great question, and that is, what's the best way to screen publishing services? So if people are looking to partner with a company like FriesenPress or someone else, what are some things that they should be looking for or asking when going through that kind of shopping process, as it were?
That's a good question. You want to really find out who you're working with. Due diligence. Ask them what their approach is. Ask them about the type of editing they do and offer. Ask them where they do their production work. It's about a lot more than just the cost. You'll find that there's a lot of companies that offer very low cost for publication, and it's really important that you know where those costs lie, what they're going to provide you with for that cost. So it's good to ask who they are, find out about the history of the company, check into their Better Business Bureau reviews, check into their Google reviews. If you can't find anything, that's a red flag. If you can't find that company out there or find any reviews, it's not only about good and bad reviews, it's about finding them out there. Who are they? What are they going to help you with? Do they care about you and your book? It's again, it's very personal publishing a book, and it has to be a good fit with you.
Great answer and great question. Patricia asked about agents' fees. So I don't know if you're able to speak to that at all, Emily, how that acquisitions process goes, how an agent sort of fits into taking a percentage of the advance. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Agents usually take a cut, and it's usually a percentage of the deal when it's being negotiated. I've heard recently, over the past few years, actually, about a number of people that were approached by agents wanting money up front, hourly or like a salary for searching out a deal. Chances are that's not a real agent. A real agent normally takes a percentage. What that percentage is really depends on the deal as well as the advancement. Normally, traditional publishers will make a deal where they advance an author to buy the rights to their book, and then they negotiate what the percentage is in book profits following recouping their advance, and the agent takes their percentage as well. Over the years, what I've heard as far as authors' profit margins, it's usually well below 10%. I know a number of authors that were even co-author situations that were splitting about 8%. And the agent, it very much differs depending on the deal and depending on the publication.
Right. Peggy asks, and I'm going to kind of combine two of your questions in one, or at least try to, Peggy. Peggy was asking about if Friesens has ISBNs, or if that is something that our authors have to acquire on their own. And they were also asking about distribution. So those kind of things are some of the admin, what I would call admin stuff with publishing, where it is in design, editing. So maybe speaking to some of that value that's it's work that goes into creating a book.
Mhm. If ISBNs are used to track book sales, so they're needed when you put your book into distribution. So if you're going the do it yourself self-publishing route, you have to get the ISBN numbers for your book, and you have to manage that distribution. When you work with FriesenPress, we provide ISBN numbers because we manage worldwide print on demand distribution. We also do have other print options, but we have 3 ISBN numbers included in each publication plan that we offer, because one is associated with the soft cover version of the book that we produce, one is for the ebook, and one is for the hardcover version. Our print on demand distribution is worldwide, and it means that a book is printed as it is purchased, one at a time. As FriesenPress is a division of one of the oldest printers in North America, we also have other specialty print options for our authors, but there's no obligation to that. The beauty of print on demand is that you can get a really wide reach for your book, a really wide distribution network, rather than putting your money into boxes of books and running around trying to sell them. It also allows you as an author to order small quantities if you're doing an event, or you're selling books directly, or you just want some for friends and family. It's hard to produce a book nowadays and go to a printer for small quantities. So even for books that have a small, maybe an author is just trying to produce a legacy project, often that's still a good fit for working with us. You just need a plan of lesser services potentially to achieve it.
Right. Well, great. Thanks, Em. Question from Sheila here, who was asking, they wrote a book in college years ago. I believe it's a children's book. They don't have an illustrator. Maybe kind of thinking about this from the DIY, do-it-yourself perspective. How hard is it to find the right illustrator for a book? And I love that you put the right illustrator in there, Sheila, because that is a really important thing for the kind of work we do.
It is really important. When we work with authors at FriesenPress that may have come to us with their own illustrations, or they worked with an outside illustrator before coming to us, and we have a lot of other authors that work with one of our illustrators. Illustrators that we have really wide, diverse portfolios. And so the type of illustration work they do falls into different sort of categories of detail. So we really need to have the author's vision for their illustrations, because it's crucial to finding the right illustrator to see your vision through. Whenever we're working with an author, they fill out forms, they have a call, a vision call with us. We know what questions to ask an author to get the details and the vision out of their head, so that we can provide them with portfolios of illustrators that match what they're looking for. They then view these portfolios, look at them at that stage, choose one that they like on style, and then we go into a pencil sketch stage. We want to get all of the details out of the author's head into the head of that illustrator and have them pencil sketch the entire book out for them. It's good if you're going to work with your own illustrator outside that you do something the same way. You want to have them pencil sketch, because revisions can be done at a pencil sketch stage, as opposed to completing an illustration and having to redo it because it just isn't what you saw. So if you have a specific character that your book is built around, envision that character in detail. You know, is it a child? Do they have curly hair? Do they have straight hair? Do they wear glasses, have googly eyes? Are they carrying an umbrella? Like, very finite details. We want that vision. And I would say overall, with any of the authors we work with through illustrations or publication, we need your vision. That is one thing that we cannot create. We can carry your vision, but we can't create it. So yeah, we have a lot we offer. Some authors even start with just a sample illustrations if they're still not sure, if they're sort of torn between choosing different portfolios. Maybe they like more than one. They might choose to pay to have a sample sketch by each illustrator to see which one. So there's a lot of options with us.
Totally. That's great. Let's see here. Angus asks, what formats can Friesen print? If you can, maybe some of the custom edition work that we can do at Friesen.
Good question. Print on demand is an important aspect, but it also has its limitations. When we're producing a book, as far as the file type we need from an author, we need their document in Word. So that can be, it needs to be a docx file. If you have images or illustrations, those need to be placed within that document. As far as the books we produce them in softcover, hardcover, and ebook. In print on demand, black and white, it looks at whether or not the book in the interior is black and white or color printing. It can't choose paper quality and switch between glossy and color pages. It chooses printing in black and white or printing in color. So black and white books are printed on 50-pound uncoated cream or white paper. An author chooses whether they want cream or white paper. Cover is always color. When it comes to producing a book in color in print on demand, they can choose from standard color or premium color. Premium color is for art books, a lot of children's books, books, photography books, things that need a high quality, rich color profile. And those are then printed on white 70-pound uncoated paper. Once an author publishes with FriesenPress, they also have the option of doing larger print runs, more specialty print runs, if they choose to, but the quantity has to be there in order for us to facilitate those sorts of things. But there are definitely options because we can print with Friesens, which is in Manitoba, which is our head office. So there's different options for authors that publish with us.
Love it. Got a question from Stephanie here, who asked, what is a reasonable exchange/cost for a beta reader?
That also really varies. I find that that really is affected by the length of the book, because a lot of the time it's about the amount of time that that beta reader is taking to read that book and assess it. So look at the costs as similar to working with an editor. An editor works based on the word count of a manuscript, how many hours they have to put into that, and it's generally based on the word count or the length of time they're putting into it. So it really does vary. And it's also about the level of professionality of that beta reader as well at times. So it really depends, especially when you get into something that's more technical in nature, more academic in nature. You may need very specific beta readers, for example, and their time could be higher than someone reading something for
Yeah,
the everyday reader.
I think too, depending on the scope of the task at hand, you might know a beta reader or be close to them. You might be able to use someone who's a good friend, who's versed in the genre that you're writing in, and they might be able to give good insights for you. If you just need another set of eyes on it, if it's a romance book and they love romance books, then that might be a person to consult for feedback. So something to think about too, if I can add my 2 cents. Got a question here from John, who asked, if I self-publish a book, do traditional publishers see that as a bad thing?
They used to. That is a great question. I find over the years, over the 10 years I've been here at FriesenPress, that has definitely changed. They used to frown upon it. They really did. They used to eye roll like, oh no, another self-published book. No, we're not interested. I find that now, and I honestly feel it's because of the kind of quality that we can produce here, we've rivaled traditional publishing. A lot of authors don't have to go and beg for a traditional deal anymore. If they have the budget, we can help them achieve producing a high quality book. We've had a number of authors that have been picked up by traditional presses following publication with us. Um, But I have to say, more and more, we're getting the other way. We're getting more authors coming to us that have been traditionally published, and now they want control. They want to keep control. They want to be able to do their book the way they want. Um, you have to ensure that if you are looking to publish and then considering still seeking out a traditional publisher, just make sure to look out for hybrid publishers. You want to kind of look into deep into their contract because that could limit you. Self-publishing services companies like FriesenPress, for example, we offer a non-exclusive agreement with our authors because we've had a number of them picked up after publishing with us. And when they do that, they need to be able to negotiate with that traditional publisher and then pull the book out of our distribution so that they can go with them. With hybrid publishers, it sort of falls between traditional and self-publishing, so authors will lose some of their ownership, and they will be locked into a deal distribution wise, so that could limit you on finding a traditional offer. So it's definitely something to look into. But I find over the years, yeah, less and less are, they really are again looking at the investment they have to make in an author. So if they see a quality book that's been produced, it shows them they may need less work done on it, less of an investment for them for the book to be successful. So they're more inclined now than they ever used to be. It's not frowned upon the way it was, as long as you produce a quality book.
Exactly. We've had a few authors recently actually be picked up by small presses. So it's definitely a path. We see it quite often. Yeah, it's kind of a great proof of concept kind of thing for authors who don't want to wait to get their book out there, who want to, you know, get it out and get people reading it. It can be a stepping stone kind of thing. Um, Jackie asks, how do you compare to other Canadian publishing services? What's your edge? Thoughts?
We are very different. I would say the number one reason is we're not just Canadian owned, we're employee owned, which means everyone working with you is invested in you being successful and enjoying your time with us. I also find that there are a lot of others that are owned, Canadian owned, but that's not where they do their work. So an author signs on with them and then they're getting calls from other places, and it's a disconnect because a lot of those companies will outsource their work, so you're working with a production team in another country. I find another big key with Friesen Press is again that evaluation. There's a lot of companies that either don't read the books that they're publishing, or they give that away, that evaluation away to try and use it to sign that author. We want to give an author real recommendations, truth from a professional editor, because we want to help them create a quality book. So I feel that our process, I can honestly tell you that my background is hitting about 30 years in publishing now. I wouldn't work for anyone else in the publishing industry. If I didn't work at Friesen Press, I would move on to another industry because I don't agree with the way a lot of them work. I don't think they're honest about their approach, and I very much question a lot of their professionality to their services. But Friesen Press has quality editors. We work solely in Canada. And I also think a big part of it is having bigger options for printing when you're published. We have other print options other than print on demand, and I don't know of others that have that. So it's key. It's about the quality, it's about the approach, the support we offer, the relationship we have with our authors. We care a lot about what we do.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to talk about that, Jackie. So totally, you know, going back to the start of the Q&A, great question to ask people that you're thinking about partnering with, and folks should be able to easily answer that question. You know, we want to be the right fit for as many authors as we can. Being employee owned is a huge part. It's my favorite thing about working at Friesen Press. So thank you again for the opportunity to talk about that. We had a few questions about distribution, specifically POD distribution, and whether we have global reach or not. So I don't know if you're able to speak a bit to POD. I don't know if in the wider kind of publishing space and how that
Mhm.
sort of works.
We manage the worldwide print on demand distribution for our authors. So we're tracking all of their sales, making sure we report those sales to the author, and then we pay out the profits on those book sales quarterly throughout the year. So when an author works with us, they set up an account with us. They work with that account throughout publishing. But when the book is published, we manage the distribution through the largest book wholesaler in the world. So there's currently about 50,000 retailers, major bookstores in the world. We also have, you know, ways, then things that we can offer to raise the listing visibility to ensure that it shows on major bookstores, websites, and it's sitting in an accessible position to them to purchase. But we do manage the distribution. Again, that goes back to tracking those ISBN numbers of each book. Um, the account that gets set up with an author, once they're published, they can log into their account anytime and view their sales. They're reported in there monthly. Amazon is one of the online retailers that we distribute through as well. And those sales are reported every 45 days. And then authors' royalties are paid out quarterly once they've accrued $25 or more within that quarter. So our Canadian authors set up their banking and we directly deposit to them. And authors outside of Canada are issued checks in US funds for their royalties. If an author hasn't accrued enough within that quarter, they don't lose that profit. It just continues, it tips over into the next quarter and continues to accrue. So it's easy to be able to just log into your account at any time, see your sales, look at what your upcoming royalty is going to be. I hear about a lot of authors that have to call companies trying to find out where their sales are, what they were, what they're going to get paid out. So that's another thing to look back into when you're researching. Find out how they report sales and when they pay out the royalties to you, because it's also important, especially key if an author is Canadian and interested in working with a US self-publisher. There's a few hoops to go through, so you want to research that too. The other way around, there's no problem. Us being Canadian, we work with authors around the world, and there's no problem with that. No issues.
Well, we are almost at the upper limit of our time here. Maybe we can do one more question. I did just want to reiterate, if you have questions, don't be shy, add them in. We'll follow up with you directly. Really appreciate, again, all the questions and really kind comments a lot of people are leaving about the value of the presentation. So thank you for that. And we'll go back to Sheila for the last one. We had a few questions about series. So I guess maybe specifically children's books. Is it easier or harder to get a series published versus one book at a time?
I would say it depends on what you're doing. If you're looking to a traditional publisher and it's a children's book series, for example, you're going to want to go and map that out and try and approach them or the agent before you've got illustrations. The majority of the time with a traditional publisher, they want to own that book, which means they want to choose the illustrator that works on the book and then map out a plan for that book series. They want to own those characters in case it leads to a toy line, a movie, a product line, whatever the case may be. When you map out a series of books, you want to make sure you have an over-encompassing title for all of the books and that you know how one is going to lead into the next well. So if it's a certain character, it has to be well developed. Usually you've got more background on that initial character in book one because you're creating that character or creating that world for that reader. So I would say the key is you want to tie them together and make sure you've got one dropped out and then the next coming out in distribution in a timely manner so that you can market each one and tie them together well. If you have to produce a high quality book the first time in a series, or people are not going to come back for others. So it has to be well written, well developed, well illustrated, well designed. It has to be a quality book, because otherwise you could do yourself more damage by producing a low quality book initially.
Absolutely. Well, we are just under the wire here, which is perfect. So, thanks again, everyone, for your great questions. We'll be following up very soon. If we didn't get to you today, really appreciate everyone taking the time to be here. We'll be doing our drawing as well, so that link is in the chat. We'll keep that open for another couple seconds here. If you haven't already entered, click that tab or leave the tab open. You can enter to win the editor's manuscript evaluation. And good luck to you. We'll randomly draw it. Em, I don't know if you have any final thoughts before we sign off.
No, I just wanted to thank everybody for attending, and I really hope this helps give you a bit of an overview of what's out there so you can find the right path for you. And honestly, reach out to us. We work with authors all the time, just having conversations with them and helping them one-on-one with their projects. Like I said, through writing and mapping out a plan for publishing. So, reach out to us. We're happy to help. It's so, again, personal. It's nice to talk one-on-one with someone about your particular project so we can get into details that way. But I thank you all for attending, and I hope I've helped.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you again next month, hopefully, for our next webinar. And until then, be well, take care, and we'll see you then.